there's other alternative options if you do have cancer versus going the Western medicine route of chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. Hi again, this is Melissa from thepureappeal.com. I am the creator and founder, and this is part 3 of my series of my story and how I got to where I am today. So be sure to watch part 2 and part 1 of this in order, because then it'll make a little more sense. And I'm going to continue and tell you a little bit more about my story and how I got to where I am today. So after I've had all this time to research and watch this documentary series that really opened up my eyes to the options that I really do have, I went back to my hematologist oncologist for my follow-up visit, and he did have the information from the pathologist and told me that I did have MDS, or that I do have MDS, I should say. And, you know, so then it was kind of like, okay, this is my diagnosis. And it was kind of strange because, you know, the doctor is telling me that I potentially do have cancer. I'm 33 years old, and I have a very rare bone marrow cancer that they don't know a whole lot about. So not only do I have the rare bone marrow disorder, the MDS, I have Sweet syndrome, which is also a very rare skin disorder. So as far as finding help, treatment, cures, it's really hard right now because they don't know a lot. They don't know a lot of what causes MDS other than if you're exposed to chemicals, radiation. But other than that, they don't know a whole lot about it. And Sweet syndrome too, they don't know a great way to treat it other than with steroids. That's the only really thing that they know how to treat it. And they say that if you can heal the underlying cause of it, then it should go away. You know, I kind of sat there at the doctor's office because now I had come with the information that I had sort of read about it, so I knew more about MDS. And my husband and I were sitting there, you know, thinking, and through the week that I was doing my research, I really kept racking my brain trying to figure out, what have I been exposed to? What in the world could have ever brought this on? And the only thing that it kept leading to in my research that I was, you know, just scavenging and scouring the internet to find out was a possible link to breast implants. And where I get from this, 9 years ago, I had saline breast implants put in. And as far as chemicals or toxic things I'm exposed to, that's the only thing that I'm exposed to 24/7. And when I was doing research, I found, and it sickened me, I found the list of chemicals that goes into making the silicone shell of a saline implant, because there's silicone implants and there's saline implants, but those saline ones are in a shell and it's made of silicone, the same ingredients and materials that are used to make the silicone implants. And in the list of ingredients for the silicone shell were, I would say, 5 or 6 or 7 neurotoxins and carcinogens. And the one that jumped out to me hugely was benzene. Because when I did my research on MDS, they said that benzene is a direct cause of MDS. And people who are exposed to benzene are at a much higher risk of developing MDS. So it was almost, you know, like a light bulb went off, like, oh my God, I've been exposing myself to this chemical or multiple chemicals for 9 years inside my chest. And I didn't even know it. I didn't know, the FDA says these things are safe. They say that they're fine, you know. So after seeing this in my research, that benzene is an ingredient, I was just astounded that I was made to think that these implants were safe. I shouldn't say everyone does it. It's a common procedure. It's one of the top plastic surgeries that are done for women are breast augmentations. And to think that I didn't know that these ingredients were in the shell, I didn't know that I was being exposed to all this crazy stuff, and to think that this could be the reason that I developed a precancerous condition, it terrified me. It made me mad. I was sad, I was angry, I was mad, I was just floored to think that I could have done this to myself. And, you know, I brought it up to my doctor, the oncologist, and he just brushed it aside. He said, there's no way, they're not linked. He said he did find that there is a lymphoma that's linked to silicone implants that they found. It's very rare, but it can happen. And I said, lymphoma deals with the lymph nodes, MDS deals with the bone marrow, but they both have a huge part of your immune system. So, I pointed that out, and he says, oh, no, they're totally different. It's not related. So, again, I didn't want to argue with him because he's the doctor, but it just didn't sit right with me. He immediately wanted to get me started on chemotherapy, which I told him, I said, I don't want to do chemotherapy. And of course, nobody wants to do chemotherapy. Why, who's going to raise their hand and be like, yes, I want to jump in and, poison my body. But I really, really, really had a strong gut feeling that this is not the path that I'm supposed to take. And you really have to listen to that intuition and those little voices and that gut feeling, because, for the most part, I would say that's something telling you. And, I don't know if you believe in God or some higher being of spiritual, realms, but I truly felt like this was God telling me, this is not the path you're supposed to take. You're not supposed to do chemotherapy. And after seeing that documentary series and doing my research, I told my oncologist, I said, I've got to get these things out. I have to get these things out, because even if they didn't cause my MDS, I had autoimmune issues before I even had implants. I had psoriasis, which is an autoimmune disease on the skin, and I've had, allergies and stuff like that. And so I said, if anything, the implants are hindering my immune system, because my immune system is probably trying to fight these things because they're a foreign object in my body. And if my body's focusing on that, on fighting these foreign objects, it's not focusing on whatever else could be going on. And, things can happen. Diseases can creep in because they, your army is over here fighting, and then you got these little diseases just trickling in. And so I said, I've got to get these things out. I brought it up to him, and he just pushed it aside, and that's not it. And I was just really frustrated. So we went home, and I want to say that I took the diagnosis really well, because I didn't, it wasn't a huge emotional thing. I had done my research. I felt really empowered that, okay, I can fight this. I can do this myself, and I'm going to fight it. And so from that point on, from that day, I would say, I did a huge overhaul in my life. Now, granted, like I said before, I live a very chemical-free life. I'm very aware of what products I use, the things around me, the things I put in my body. But, I still had, treats from now and then, now and again with sugar, stuff like that. And through my research that I found that sugar is really bad, and there's all these different things that kind of feed into cancer cells. And so I overhauled the way I'm eating, the way I treat my body, the way, that I think, everything. I did this huge overhaul because I thought, I've got to do something. I've got to change something, because there's a root cause to what caused this. And I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to heal it. And so, I'm not going to just attack the symptoms. So I made an appointment with a plastic surgeon for a consultation to get my implants taken out. And I kind of gave him sort of a quick rundown of what was going on. And he was a little concerned because at this point, my blood tests were pretty low. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Stay tuned for part 4 of my story, and I will tell you a little bit more of how I got to where I'm at today. Thanks for watching.